What's going on, guys? Zane here with Everything Vive. I want to welcome you back for another episode of the show. I'm here with Ronnie. Ronnie, how's it going, man?
It's going great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Some of you guys might be off, and if you are, I hope you're enjoying. And yeah, Ronnie, it's been a crazy weekend, a crazy last week, and there's a lot of new stuff happening right now.
Yeah, I feel like this weekend and then the next few weeks is just like jam packed, and this week in particular, there's a lot going on. So
yeah, okay. So let's just jump straight into it. We got a couple of different things we wanted to cover. The first is Sundance, which I unfortunately have never been to, but would love to make it out there sometime. But it looks like HTC is going to be bringing a couple of surprises to the festival this year. And I know, just looking at the schedule, they're going to have several different apps that they'll be showcasing. I think one of the bigger ones that people are excited about is VR on the Mountain, which is an exhibit that'll be running from January 20th to 22nd. But they're going to have a lot of other stuff on there as well. I know there was the Pearl Harbor, which released on Viveport a little while back. They're going to feature The Price of Freedom, which is a game that we actually covered on a Game Talk episode. So it's going to have some actually interactive content that people will be able to go through. And I think what makes something like The Price of Freedom very much relevant to Sundance is, when I was talking about that a couple episodes back, it's got a great narrative to it. And I mean, narrative in the sense that it's VR, it's a game, so you're not going to win any like Golden Globe awards or something like that with this. But for the most part, you're going to have most of the Vive games that have come out so far, or just VR games in general, have lacked like a certain amount of depth. And so it's cool to see games like this or experiences like this getting some recognition, because it's merging two different fields to me, which are both very big and both very relevant.
yeah, no, I totally agree. So, and I think it's cool that besides just showing off, like, I mean, Oculus has always had, kind of a presence at Sundance, at least in the last few years. This is really the first year that HTC is going to be bringing a lot of content, which is a very, very good sign. I just think it's cool that rather than just focusing solely on 360 videos and such, that we're actually going to get, rendered, three-dimensional, like real app experiences. And that they're using, a lot of these developers are using VR, not even just developers, directors, I guess, using VR as a way of bringing people into the story and a new form of storytelling, separate from just, okay, you can move your head around, whatever. Like, a lot of these cool experiences that I've been seeing lately, are almost like 3D dioramas that you're able to, be a part of, go in and kind of look closer, look far, like pick completely your own angle on how you want to approach something. And it really does add a completely different dimension. I mean, similar to how in filmmaking, like a hand-drawn animation looks completely different from claymation or other types of stop-motion animation. The apps that I've seen that are kind of, more storytelling-focused, narrative-focused, but not really necessarily games per se, I do think they add something special to the form of story that's being told. So that's really cool that they're going to be, showcasing some of those on, VR on the Mountain and just Sundance in general. So, and you said that's coming up. That's literally coming up this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's this weekend. I know is the VR on the Mountain. That's what they gave dates for.
Okay.
I mean, there were two titles that weren't on the list, or at least that I haven't seen anywhere, which I think would be a fantastic addition. And I'm not trying to tell Sundance to make any changes, but just since we're on the topic of narratives, All You Met, which I think originally came out for Oculus a while back, and while that isn't a so it's a short movie or a short film in VR. I want to say it's like 15 to 20 minutes, and it's great. It's fully animated, but just being able to look at the animation from any angle adds it's such an immersion to the experience. And, I don't want to overuse that word, but it really does add something, being able to kind of be in the story, for lack of better words.
It's so funny that you're mentioning Alumet, because that that was one of the ones that when my brother and his wife came over this weekend, I showed it to them, and I hadn't really tried it, and yeah, that was one of the things that was fresh in my mind when I was
nice.
just talking.
Okay.
So like that's really fun. Yeah, it's exactly it's experiences like that. I mean, yeah, continue, but like I mean, it clearly left a strong impression on both of us. So
and we'll have to connect. I'd love to get more of your brother's feedback on it too, because somebody new trying it for the first time. But yeah, so all you met is one, and then the other one, which is actually interactive, is Gnomes and Goblins. And I know that isn't out and available right now, at least the full version. And for anyone who's not familiar, Gnomes and Goblins is, I guess it's a short film that Jon Favreau, who's a movie director, he did Iron Man and a bunch of other movies which you may or may not have seen, or which you should have seen. I mean, he's a pretty big deal in Hollywood. So for him to get involved in VR, and he's working with Weaver, which is the team that came out with the Blue for this, and it's interactive, and there's a free demo out right now that I know is available for the Vive. I wouldn't be surprised if it's available for Oculus, although if memory served me right, I think they're strictly sticking with the Vive on this one, just because it came out pretty early on. And if you try the demo, it doesn't last long. I want to say like 10 to 15 minutes max, but you kind of drive the story along with your involvement. And one of the things that I know they were trying to do with the interactiveness is that when the characters in the film look you in the eye, it's something like they notice eye contact. So if you're not looking at them, it triggers something, and if you are looking at them or like make a movement towards them, it triggers some other type of response, which was just really cool because I hadn't been in anything like that for in any type of experience. So I hope that somebody's trying to include it in there, because I think that would be a really, really cool thing to add. And just from a cinematic and from a storyline and from a film perspective, this is exactly what they're going for in terms of something more interactive. So yeah, I mean, that's all I really had on it. You got anything else on the Sundance stuff?
No. That's it. So yeah, if anybody's interested, I mean, just keep track of kind of what's going on with Sundance. I think it was the 19th or 20th through. Let me look up the dates real quick. Yeah, I think Sundance in general starts January 19th and it ends January 29th. And I think you had quoted that the VR on the Mountain, it was January 20th, I think, through the 22nd.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'd seen dates on. But I mean, I feel like there's going to be stuff going on throughout the entire week. So
so just keep tabs on it, and I mean, we'll do the same, I'm sure. But just if you're interested in seeing what kind of more narrative focused VR experiences are out there, keeping track of Sundance and what HTC is bringing there would be a good start. So.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned Oculus earlier and how Oculus was a big player in previous Sundance festivals. But looking forward, the next item that I have on my list, which was, I guess, a survey that GDC, which is the Game Developers Conference for this year, 2017, it's a survey that they ran. And the interesting thing that came back, which I guess is not so surprising since you and I are obviously very, or at least somewhat Vive biased, but every category that they put out there, the Vive was in the lead. So some of the categories were games in development, future platform of choice, or just general interest, or platform exclusive, things like that. So essentially every category where they were talking to developers about their preferences in terms of the different platforms and systems that are out there, the Vive was in the lead. And I guess, like I said, that's not surprising because, just seeing what happened at CES this past week, HTC is doing a really good job staying ahead of the curve. I mean, the Touch came out in December, and less than a month after that, or about a month after that, you have HTC and Vive coming out with more accessories, more features, a wireless solution that is, given the stamp of verified by the company itself, with TPCast working directly with HTC on this. So, I mean, it's really cool to see, and I'm glad that developers aren't, I guess, abandoning the Vive, or not that they would. That's probably the wrong word. They wouldn't abandon the Vive, but there's just this really big and strong community around Oculus, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I think that's fantastic, but I think it's great to see the Vive getting recognition and having developers be a big part of that community that builds around the Vive, I think is going to be very important for it moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And no, definitely. I mean, I think you're definitely right. I mean, if you look at just general VR headlines right now, I mean, I think in the past there have definitely been, weeks or months there where there's a lot of big news coming out of Oculus, or it looks like, the fact that they have everything really nice and organized there, that there was just, a lot in the works. You kind of had a feeling. I think the momentum's kind of shifted, and as of late, more and more of these big stories are coming out of HTC and the Vive, and projects surrounding the Vive rather than Oculus. So I think it's a really cool sign, and I think all of those, the results that came back from the surveys kind of go to show you that right now HTC does have a lot of momentum. So that's good to hear.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, either way, it'll be exciting to see where things go from here. And I think GDC is something that you and I have on our radar, because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen. And I believe that's happening late February, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, GDC just in general is super, super fascinating. If you like the technical side, the art side, just anything, anything involving how games are made and kind of what the processes are like, and you want to keep up with the industry, I feel like, the lectures are usually streamable online, and it really gives people that want kind of a more inside, in-depth look, a great opportunity to learn a lot. So every year I look forward to GDC, and this year is going to be no different. And I think, more and more GDC's, kind of been focused on VR, since that's really the most exciting thing in the development space right now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, this might be kind of a tangent in terms of news, but it's actually somewhat relevant. I want to actually reference the article you sent me last week that we were kind of getting really excited about, which was the one with Epic's Tim Sweeney.
Yep. He was being interviewed, I think, by Glixel was the name of the website.
We can. I can look that up and actually put that in the show notes if anybody's interested. But just in talking about gaming, so if you get a chance to read the article, if you're interested even remotely in VR or the future of tech, I think you'll find it absolutely fascinating how he views where we will be in the next 12 years. And there were a couple of things that stood out. Well, the first and foremost, just because we're talking about GDC and game developers, one of the things that he had mentioned was how no technology is old enough or slow enough or whatever for gaming. He talked about like the progression of VR and how we're slowly getting there, in terms of it being, I guess, on a mass-produced level. But, you look back at arcades where those arcade systems, they weren't good enough to be like a regular computer, but they were good enough for games. And you look at like mobile phones and like the games that people had on there. So it's like where VR is right now. The technology might not be wherever we're headed. It might not be on that mass level, but it's good enough for games. And so I feel like
it's good enough for games. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I feel like gaming and like especially something like GDC, you're always going to see people who are taking the current technology and utilizing it to its most, which I'm not going to say is going to push the technology further, but I think it does its fair share of utilizing technology, maximizing it out, and hopefully finding new and creative areas to exploit the different advantages that you'd have with this technology and show areas where you can improve. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's interesting in that respect because, it's very much a driver of new technology. So, like you were saying, like with cell phones and such, some of the earliest implementations of mobile hardware or this is finding implementations for games. And then later, as the technology gets better and better, eventually it gets to that point where, everyone's using it for some other social, use or some. So that's really interesting. And I agree. His article is, for anybody out there that, is kind of a futurist or kind of wants to, this is a guy that very much has been on the technical side and has had, a very big role in how, not only PC games, but all games have developed over the last, couple decades here. And he puts a lot of very, very interesting ideas out there as to, where this stuff is headed. So
And just for context, because I'm still learning a lot of this myself. So for anybody who's listening, Tim Sweeney is the creator of the Unreal Engine or Unreal Engine. And that powers actually a lot of the games that are out on VR right now, or just games in general. But I think it's Unreal and Unity that are probably the two biggest players right now.
Yep.
If I'm correct. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So that's he's got a really good finger on the pulse of like where VR and the future is headed. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so people can link to it, check it out, and let us know what you guys think. I mean, I was just totally blown away by the article. And again, a lot of it is still somewhat theoretical, but I think what blew my mind, and sorry for keeping this tangent going, but another thing that blew my mind was, January 2017, I think we're exactly 10 years from when the first iPhone was announced. I think it was January 2007, because he mentioned that in the article as well. And to me, just to see how much life has changed, how dependent we've become on cell phones, but actually that's not what I'm trying to focus on, but how powerful these computers in our pockets and these mobile devices that we have become in just 10 years, and how they've shaped the world completely. 10 years is a long time when it comes to technology, and especially like technology that's advancing at such a rapid rate. So year one, you have the Vive. At launch, you have the Vive. Year one, you have a wireless solution. What comes next? What's going to happen in years 2 through 10? I'm excited.
Yeah, no, and one of the other, like you said, I know this is just technically a tangent, but just one of the other interesting things I thought he mentioned in the article was kind of, if you look at technology, it's not always this just like clear linear, like, okay, a new technology is released, from day one it's going to be mind blowing, and it just everyone adopts it as soon as it's released, and boom, it's changed the world right away. Like, no, if you look at cell phones, and a lot of what made the iPhone what the iPhone was in other technologies, and there were other attempts at that type of thing, prior to its release. You had Trios and Palms and whatnot, and they all did something very important and unique, but it wasn't until, the iPhone came where really those technologies had matured to the point where, boom, huge milestone. And just, similarly, when you look at VR, it's going to be game changing. It's going to lead to, not just, new types of gaming experiences, but really it's going to probably bring about, huge change in society, I think. And that's what some of his article talks about, is the potential for that. And just looking at it, how past technologies have kind of progressed and kind of moved from, something like an early adopter, kind of new, exciting tech, to something that, becomes indispensable and everybody is basically on board. And so that was another kind of interesting thing I took away from it.
Yep.
But
yeah, if you want to, that was a good tangent though.
It is.
It was a long tangent,
and it's worth anyone. I think
worth
anyone that's interested. We didn't mention it previously, but
we should have just included that. Well, whatever. Now it's unofficially on the back end, included as part of what we were planning to talk about in this episode.
Agreed.
Awesome. Okay, so that's really all we got. There's one more thing which Ronnie, you brought to my attention, and this is actually very important, very relevant for anybody listening to this now, Monday night, or on Tuesday at any point. So.
Yep. So basically, just wanted to make sure everybody knew about this before it happened. So, this is going to be, we're putting this up on the night of the 16th. So tomorrow is January 17th. And at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in the U.S., Gabe Newell, the CEO, co-founder of Valve, or I guess he's not CEO, he's president, I should say. So co-founder and president of Valve, is going to be doing an Ask Me Anything, or AMA, on Reddit. So that is very, very cool. Gabe Newell is, not only is he obviously a visionary in the PC gaming world, but also in VR, and he's very candid, and he really, basically he's very free in the types of responses he gives out to people's questions, and he's very, very, very interesting to listen to, and has so much insight. So I would definitely recommend anyone that is free, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow, to go and give that a look. There's not a whole lot of information out there yet as to how long it's going to be or anything like that, but but you can join in. I think it's the_Gaben, like Gabe and then the letter N for his last name. So the_Gaben subreddit. And tomorrow, Tuesday, January 17th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go and check it out. Put in questions if you have them. If not, just listen, and chances are you're going to hear some pretty interesting stuff about VR and about technology and entrepreneurialism. Who knows what? So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just thinking about it now in the next 7 days, I can see stuff that he mentions tomorrow being in articles that are released later on in the week that we cover next week.
That's definitely
happened.
So that's definitely happened where he's off the cuff. Someone, I mean, theoretically, whoever's listening to this podcast could ultimately ask a question if they're there for the AMA that wouldn't have been asked, and he might give a response that he wouldn't have given otherwise, and that leads to a piece of news that wouldn't have existed. So, yeah. So anyone that's interested and has, questions that they might want to pose for Mr. Newell, you should definitely start thinking now and be there for the AMA tomorrow on the subreddit.
Most definitely. Cool. Well, that's all we have for today. But one last thing is we actually should have done this at the beginning, or at least said we were going to do it at the beginning. We want to say thank you again for all the feedback. It's been great. So for anyone who may not have heard the episode, what is it, episode number 47 from last Wednesday that we did, we're giving away Steam gift card, but that was in exchange for just your guys' comments, feedback, places that we can improve, things that you like. We were specifically focused on the formatting of the show and for the interview requests, as now that 2017 is underway and there's been a heck of a lot of stuff that's been released since that we're still digesting. We want to be able to get these developers on and give you guys behind the scenes look. And so we do appreciate all the feedback that we got on that YouTube, on that episode, but it was through YouTube that you guys were commenting. And so that being said, we picked a name at random beforehand, and the name that we got, and this is the YouTube username, is John Brown. So thank you guys all again. But John Brown, make sure you shoot us a message on our channel. And just because I know some other people were having issues not being able to see our replies, at least not in a timely manner for some reason. John, if you get this, and you're going to shoot us a message, just maybe put some other contact information if there's an email address or something that you're comfortable with, just so that we can also contact you there in case for some reason YouTube's being funky and we can't, respond right away. Because, just going through, I manage the channel myself. And so I try and go through as soon as I get a message from you guys for these Steam giveaways and stuff like that. I try to get the message responded to within a matter of hopefully like an hour or less. But I know there have been some times where people will come back and say that they never got the message or something. And so I just want to say that this might be a better strategy moving forward so that you guys aren't waiting too long to jump into the games or to get the Steam gift card as is advertised for today. So thank you, John, again for your feedback, and thank you all again for your feedback. And please keep it coming. I know we're not going to offer a Steam gift card every week, but any type of feedback, we would appreciate it. Any type of constructive criticism is definitely appreciated, because this show's for you guys, and we want to be able to create something and put out stuff and content that you guys would enjoy. So that being said, Ronnie, you got anything else to add?
No, that's it. So, happy MLK Day for those in the U.S., and we will talk to you soon.
Yep, sounds good. Take care. Talk soon.